Good morning, everyone. I'm going to kick off the webinar now. Welcome to our first in a series around cybersecurity, and specifically today around the resilience bill, which is going through the process at the moment, which we'll go into a bit more detail in a minute. There's still people joining, but I'm just going to kick on. So again, thanks for joining us, everyone. I hope everyone is well. The agenda for this morning, the way we run the webinars, we try and keep them pretty short and succinct to the title and the topic we're talking about. Today's webinar is going to be slightly different because we're going to try and avoid feeds and speeds and what colour the box is and how big it is and how it's all about talking about the bill, the impact it's going to have on all of us and our customers, where what that will inevitably do is drive opportunity. So today we're going to talk through it, explain what it's all about, where it fits into our environment in the comms world, and hopefully you'll be able to take away a lot of really useful information. And there are some next steps we're suggesting after. So I'm going to kick off in a minute. Talk about Nuvola. Then I'm going to talk about some of the implications for the UK organisations regarding this, the operational technology security side of the defence. Then Ross is going to run through a number of pieces around business opportunities, network visibility infrastructure, and obviously where Garland actually fits into the overall solution. But like I say, rest assured, we will not be talking about part numbers, SKUs, and speeds and feeds. This is about you guys gleaning information. Obviously, the recording and the slides will be available afterwards. So if you want to refer back to something, you'll be able to at a later stage. And as always, we have a Q&A. So if you have any questions, please put that in the chat, and we will go through any questions and answers you've got at the end. If we don't have enough time, because again, we want to make sure that we fit into the hour that we've put in place, we want to we can come back to you as a group after and answer any questions that we haven't got around to answering today. So I think what I just wanted to do initially was talk about Nuvola briefly and who we are, where we are. So Nuvola Group, we traditionally have been very much a comms side of the thing. So the voice, the contact center, the UC, the UCAS, and within the group we have three parts of the group. We've got Nuvola Technology Solutions, which is the UK entity, which works as what we used to call a distributor. Now we're a solutions provider. So we work with the channel along with distributing, supplying a number of products, which I'll come on to in a minute. You have Nuvola Ireland. So Ireland, we set that business up probably 6-7 years ago. And what that gives our partners is obviously the Republic customers can buy off that entity without any tax implications, any paperwork issues. But it also means that for yourselves, if we've got any UK-based customers who want to explore Europe, want to be, supply kit, software, services into Europe, that is a very good vehicle for you to utilise, because obviously that takes away all the paperwork that is necessary at the moment. And then finally, we've got New Eyes, which is our professional services side of things. So it's a key part to the business. Every product we sell, we offer a level of service, and that has historically been in place, and that might be bodies, that might be working with the vendor. So New Eyes is PS. It doesn't mean you have to buy the kit off us or the software. It's an independent part of the business which works with our partners along with all the products that we sell. And what this just very briefly talks about is where we see everything. You can see we've got the the traditional connectivity infrastructure side of things, which again is becoming very commoditized, but something we need to be able to talk about and procure for our partners. Contact center and AI. Now, again, a massive talking point, the AI part of it, and it sits very firmly alongside the CCaaS part of our business, which we're very strong about. We are very strong. We have years experience, and what that's taken us into the AI environment very strongly. And every conversation you can imagine we're talking about, when we talk about contact center, there's an element of AI in there. UCaaS, again, very much our bread and butter. So we work with a number of vendors where we're around UCaaS, and even the traditional unified comms side of things. So we still have hybrid solutions where people have their old legacy kit that they want to connect to the cloud, and they need some sort of vehicle to do that. And that's where, again, we deliver solutions around that. And then finally, security and analytics, which is obviously a key part that we're talking about today. And I'll go into a bit more how that's changed our perception of where security was on one side and comms was on the other side. That is now kind of traversing and coming together. And again, we're embracing that. And you can see the overarching horseshoe there, which is all around professional services, which we offer. So just very briefly, the complete portfolio from Nuvola, we've got, like I say, the hybrid connectivity side of things with the SBCs and the operator connect connectivity, the UCaaS, which again has taken the world by storm around PABX telephony and IP telephony. We work with a number of large players there, delivering their solutions, delivering their services. Devices are still key to a lot of environments, whether it be the traditional handset, but more importantly, maybe the mobile workers. Again, utilizing Wi-Fi, even going back to the traditional DECT, and that's where SpectraLink and Yealink are very strong. And then, like I say, contact center call recording. Now, contact center, again, is still somewhat of a dark art to a lot of partners that we have. And what we try and do is say, come to us, we'll work with you, we'll do the discovery around contact center, we'll position the correct product, whether it be a Teams solution or a generic like CX1. And then on top of that, you have PCI compliance and all the recording side of things, which again, people are very key moving forward. You have to be able to deliver a solution around that, and that's where Smart comes in. And then obviously we're talking about today is the OT solutions, and that's where Garland, who we've been working with for a long, long time, are key part of that. We have also got some exciting new vendors to be announced in that scenario, which will be coming up in the coming weeks. And then finally, analytics, which again is becoming quite important, certainly with the AI integration and the cloud control side of things. People are now looking for more information on the systems they are using, whether it be on the cloud, in the cloud, or on premise. They want to say, right, if it's in the cloud, we want to be able to see all the information, all the analytics, as if it were on premise. So, like I said, I started this talking about how comms and security are coming together. So most of you understand around UCaaS, okay, around internal collaboration, taking the voice, the video, messaging onto one platform. We're all using it thus today. And that then obviously with CCaaS, that tradition has changed, where it used to be a big contact center or call center with hundreds of people. It's now dispersed, remote working, or even internally, an IT department might need a contact center solution. And what that is all about now is about customer experience. That is the key thing for it, which is where the AI part comes into it, where people are saying, right, okay, I need to make sure that I can deliver a service quicker, better, and more professionally. Now, you might need a person to do that, or you might be able to use AI to do some of the easy lifting and let the person do the heavy lifting. And that is becoming so prominent now. And obviously, what the key thing here is that maybe in the past has been neglected is the security around all these things. And certainly with contact center, with the co-pilot ChatGPT, all the information that you glean from meetings, Where is that going? Where is that stored? How secure is it? Are people taking it and moving it elsewhere? These are things that security is now becoming more and more important with the whole comms piece. And, I'm not going to read all these words. It's very wordy, but, it's how the technology is all converging. And a lot of us here probably would think, well, it's about time. We've always had to integrate an element of security when we're talking about comms, or comms when we're talking about security. And now that piece is now coming together, where they are coming into one piece, where both the UCaaS and CCaaS are going to be running on a cloud. Okay, and that usually means there's a set of security that needs to be developed and put across, whether it's an internal or external customer facing. And obviously with AI, there's the threat there. So again, understanding where the threat and what we can do. So technology convergence is certainly a real thing, and we are positioning ourselves quite strongly in that. If we now move on to the bill that we've all come to listen to Ross talk about. And the reason why we did this, we were having a conversation, myself and Ross and some other guys from the business about 6 months ago. And Ross basically pulled this out and said, this is going to come, this bill is going to be a fundamentals change in the way technology is secured. And it's what we're trying to achieve, obviously, is put that solid wall in front of these risks from rogue states, criminals, whatever, who are trying to, make our lives hell in effect. But what the bill is trying to do is say, right, someone's got to take responsibility. If you are running systems which will be open to this threat, you have got to put certain things in place, which again, Ross will be talking about. And if you don't, there will be consequences. And so, okay, so that's the end user that's going to have to do so. Now, for the resellers, what's important is that the risk is real, and the government feel that all services must have security and resilience built in, from essential services all the way through to the DCs, which are obviously hosting all these systems in this day and age. So it's something that must be looked at. There's a massive financial risk that will be put away. As usual, if you want to get people to behave themselves, give them a financial risk. And that's exactly what's going to be done. And you can see those numbers are quite large. I'm not going to detail it, you can see. But these are the kind of things that will make people sit up and go, right, we need to put something in place. And also, these companies, are going to be expected to answer any compliance that's been breached, any risks. And we're not talking about, oh yeah, we'll come back in a week. It's within 24 hours. Within 3 days, a full report. And it's not just about reports where something, whether your DC's gone down, it's about near misses as well. So someone got 90% of the way in and yeah, brilliant, your breach is stopped. You stopped that breach. Okay, they want to know about that as well. And these are the things that means that the customers are going to be told more information. And again, you can see the word mandatory, and that comes back down to the financial risks as well. And then where the question will be, who will be hit? So it's going to be through its customers and who it's dealing with. They're going to be supply chain risks, which means that it's not going to be just the guy who's delivering the service, it's going to be everyone behind it. It means that the bill itself is going to keep itself slightly wide open. That means you can actually add pieces into it as it goes along, because as we know, technology is moving pretty quickly. And also there's going to be cost recovery in place as well. So even if you're not in the critical sector, there will be a way where moving forward they might go, well, actually, we need to deem it as critical because of the risk it might give to the systems. And these are just some of the sectors and organisations affected. And again, Ross is going to go into more detail. So B2B IT management, the MSPs, you need to make sure that you follow this bill, look at it and make sure it's in scope. Data centers, as we just mentioned, again, essential. We all know that's where, moving forward, 99% of the information will be held. So therefore they are going to be under the spotlight heavily. Then obviously the smart appliances, where it might be utilities, it might be water companies, it might be gas, whatever. These guys are going to again have to show where they are putting these, following the bill, following the what is expected of them to de-risk the business, to build in resilience. And that obviously goes with the critical suppliers as well. But obviously, there's also the essential services that are already in place, which again are now going to have to move to this. Like I mentioned, the energy, the transport. So these are all areas in this country which, if we had any breach, could affect us all. And that is exactly where this bill is aimed at. It's to say, right, okay, if some rogue state-run criminals came into these essential services, what would be the impact? And they are not taking any risks anymore. So that's me done for now. I'm going to just pass over to Ross, who is going to go into a bit more detail. As I say, we're trying to avoid the speeds and feeds of this. There's going to be a lot of information. And the idea of today is to raise your knowledge base of what is out there. And then at the end, we're going to come up with some ideas of how we can move it along. But I'm now going to pass over to Ross. All yours,
Thank
Ross.
You, Michael. Yeah, thank you, Michael. I'm just going to hopefully push this up.
Your screen is up, but make it a full page.
Hopefully we'll have something in a moment.
Yes.
You have a nice blank page, I'd imagine.
We have at the moment. There you go. All yours, Ross.
Thank you, Michael. As Michael pointed out at the start, that my presentation's really not going into any detail about Garland Technology. Rather, it's really talking about the subject of the UK Cyber Security and Resilience Bill, or CSRB, as it's abbreviated these days. So the CSRB is a new UK legislation. It was announced in the King's Speech back in July 2024 now. The first reading in the House of Commons was on the 12th of November. Wasn't really any debate at that point. That was just the first introduction into the House of Commons. The current published version of the bill is, as of when I last looked, which was a few weeks ago, was dated February 2026. On the right-hand side there, you can see a window really just showing the stages that the bill has already passed through within the House of Commons. Basically, the bill is now past the detailed line-to-line scrutiny, and it's awaiting entering what's called the report stage. There might be some minor amendments at this point, but this is really the last stage before it has its third reading. And assuming there's no major obstacles, it's anticipated it will then pass to the House of Lords at the end, towards the end of 2026, with likelihood that it will become law at the end of the year. So why is there a need for this new bill? There's been a significant increase in the number of cyber attacks on critical services such as energy, water, the NHS, etc. The National Cyber Security Centre, the NCSC, are currently reporting that on average there are 4 major attacks per week. Independent consulting company Bridewell recently published a report that over 90% of critical infrastructure organizations have dealt with an incident in the past year. You know, the reality is that the UK is the 3rd most targeted country beyond the Ukraine and the USA. We're also seeing a fast increase in the number of incidents originating from the actual supply chain, from 3rd-party suppliers. The UK is currently, so the critical infrastructure in the UK is currently based on an amended version of the NIST 2018 regulations. These were introduced in the EU a number of years ago, back in 2018. We have an amended version of that, which we call the UK NIST 2024. The EU have published the NIST 2 regulations some time ago now, and are requiring that all organisations, all critical organisations within the European Union adhere to NIST 2. They also require that anyone trading with the European Union adhere to an equivalent of NIST 2. So there was an absolute need to update the current regulations in the UK. So first question is, who's impacted by these new regulations? Well, the bill only creates the framework and the powers, not actually the sector list. So it actually doesn't name anybody. The plan is that they will be added later in additional regulations. It gives the government greater flexibility in adding people into or adding people. So in the existing NIST 2018 regulations, the core operators of essential services are listed. So there's energy, transport, healthcare, water, that's drinking water, not wastewater, and digital infrastructure. So those are already governed by the NIST 2018 regulations. Who are expected to be added are, as Mike already pointed out, managed service providers and managed security service providers, very clearly flagged for inclusion. MSPs are seen as a critical risk concentration point. So they will definitely be brought into scope within this new regulation, because a breach of an MSP can cascade into thousands of customers. So the number one addition is seen as the MSPs. The manufacturing sector, there'll be selected subsectors within manufacturing, so particularly pharmaceuticals, chemicals, industrial goods, high-risk automation environments are likely to be added, almost certainly will be added. It's important that this new bill aligns itself with NIST 2. So companies that are contained within NIST 2 will also be incorporated. So you're going to, manufacturing was an addition. It wasn't included within NIST 2018, but will certainly be part of the new CSRB. Food and agriculture, particularly the supply chain there and food manufacturing. Waste management is likely to be included. Cold chain logistics, major distributors, agricultural inputs, all likely to be included. The other thing that is likely to be included is some government organisation and public administration. So things that weren't included within NIST 2018. These will also, so things like social benefit platforms, anything that's listed potentially could have a major disruption to the UK. So, in summary, in terms of identifying who will be included, there's a key structural shift within this new framework. It moves from a sector-based model where we name the sectors, which in the past was just critical infrastructure, to it's now a function-based model, and it covers a much wider scope of organizations. Basically, anybody that has some form of critical service, it relies on computer systems, and if its impact, any disruption to it will impact in a major fashion the UK economy. You might say, so if I'm already covered under NIST 2018 and I'm already having to make changes and implement security for NIST 2018, it doesn't really impact me. Well, it absolutely does, because now it really is going to strengthen the NIST 2018 requirements. So Mike mentioned this, that there's a need for much faster and stricter incident reporting. So the definition of what is a reportable incident now has become much broader. So we don't only they won't only need to report something that's impacted the organization, but also near misses. So any potential compromise is included. And you have to report an initial notification within 24 hours. And within 24 hours, customers will need to report the basic details of the incident, when it was detected, and an initial assessment of that impact. And then within 72 hours, they were required to do a detailed description of the incident, the extent of the disruption, who the users, who was affected, and for what period of time. They will need to also identify the root cause if it's known at that point. They will also have to start addressing and reporting what mitigation steps and what their response actions have been. And they also need to report any cross-border or wider system impacts, because we want to look at this as it's just an individual that's targeted, or if it potentially has a wider impact on other sectors. The other key change is that the NCSC, the National Cyber Security Centre, published for a period of time now something called CAF, the Cyber Assessment Framework, and it was a guideline that people should adhere to. Within the new regulation, this will be a compulsory requirement rather than just an advisory guideline. Organizations will need to meet defined principles and objectives for cyber resilience. These include risk management practices, governance and accountability, protective security controls, detection and monitoring, incident response and recovery. It's expected that there will be more detail on the technical security controls, so like access control and identity management, system hardening and patching, network security, monitoring and logging, malware protection. These are baseline mandatory controls. They're not going to be optional best practice anymore. And OES will need to provide evidence of compliance. So they're not just policies on paper. The OES will need to provide evidence that they have implemented these things. The other thing around the NIST 2000 regulations, there was not really much authority in place. With this new CSRB regulation, the regulators will gain much more authority. So as well as being able to audit organizations, they can enforce compliance with the ability to impose daily fines of up to £100,000, per day for non-compliance. The penalty levels have been increased. So they've really brought them in line with the NIS 2 regulations that are implemented within the EU. There's proposals actually being spoke about within the debates at the moment to actually even increase the turnover-based penalties even higher, up to 10% of global turnover in extreme cases. Bottom line is that this is no longer just a problem for the security department within an organization. This is a board level financial risk to an organization. What's really a major shift within the new CSRB is to look at the supply chain and to make an OES responsible for their supply chain. So the organizations themselves are going to be accountable for the cyber risks introduced by their suppliers and their partners. So they must identify and assess and manage the cyber risks across their supply chain, not once, but continuously. So they will be looking at the software vendors they're using, the hardware vendors, the managed service providers, the whole supply chain. Focus will be on suppliers that have access to sensitive systems or data, or could disrupt their operations if compromised. So as you can see, there's some major changes that are going to be coming in with the CSRB. There's also some major business opportunities for resellers. It brings more organizations into scope. The target market has increased significantly over and above those defined in NIS 2018. It expands the current regulations. It increases the compliance pressure, and it really forces organizations to meet mandatory cybersecurity standards. It brings more organizations into scope for you as resellers. Organizations will face 6 key challenges. They need to strengthen their cyber resilience and reduce their operational risk. They need to provide evidence for the regulators and the internal governance. They need to be able to recover from incidents and have the processes and the infrastructure in place to identify the root causes of the incidents, and then be able to recover from those. They need to be able to secure their supply chain. The critical infrastructure organizations will need to secure their OT and ICS environments, so where typically there was no security in the past. They need to be able to do this all of these steps on a continuous basis, and do it within a reasonable budget. So this is where Garland fit in to the requirement. When it comes to identifying and managing cyber risks and providing operational resilience, there's a need to deliver to observe the network traffic, to be able to see everything that's traversing the network of an organization. And Garland deliver products that can deliver 100% packet level visibility to security tools. Garland Technology have the most extensive portfolio of network TAPs, data diodes, span aggregators, and packet brokers in the industry. Without these components, you will not be able to obtain 100% network visibility within an organization. So they will not be able to provide 100% security and resilience within their infrastructure. There's a requirement, obviously, to provide evidence that an organization is satisfying the security regulations. Again, this is an area where Garland can assist. We enable partners to help produce the evidence. We can provide evidence of the architecture of a network, the packet capture for incident reviews. Very important that when there is an incident, you're able to go back historically and look at what happens within that incident. So what was breached, what the attack point was, where it occurred. We can actually provide that data. And we can provide the necessary information to provide resilience and failover. As a requirement to be able to detect incidents, report them, and recover from them. So you need to be able to do that in a rapid period of time. So you need to detect them quickly and be able to report on them. Again, what Garland provides is 100% accurate, clean data to the platforms. So the CPS protection platforms, the IDS platforms like Nozomi, Clarity, Dragos, a whole host of them in the OT space, but also in the IT space in terms of Darktrace, ExtraHop. All of these vendors need access to complete network traffic. 100% visibility is really the foundation for satisfying these strict reporting timelines and improved investigation forensics. Supply chain security. Again, this is another area where Garland can assist because we can provide visibility into the communications, the vendor connections with your supply chain, with a customer supply chain. We can provide visibility into remote access traffic. We can provide visibility within east-west as well as north-south traffic. So we can see communications and lateral movement of traffic within the network. It's all critical for detecting compromised suppliers and lateral movement attacks within an organization. Within those critical infrastructures like energy, water, there's a requirement to secure the OT environment. You know, OT environments were typically legacy equipment, which were designed based on availability and safety rather than security because they were isolated. Well, now they're no longer isolated. They need to be secured. And where Garland fits in here is we provide the mechanism to get data out of those networks in a non-disruptive manner that's secure. We also provide technologies such as hardware data diodes, which help segment, introducing segmentation into those environments. Again, critical for delivering security into those OT environments. When it comes to optimization and cost efficiency, again, this is an area where Garland can assist. We can assist because within an organization, there's not a need for just a single security tool. You need more than a single security tool. It's not a firewall fixes everything anymore. You need a whole host of different products. Organizations don't want to change their network infrastructure just to meet the requirements of the security products. So where Garland fits in is that we can deliver data from any network infrastructure without the need to change the network infrastructure, and we can deliver it to more than one security tool. We can optimize the traffic to the various security tools. We can improve the performance of existing security tools. So these are all areas where we can assist in terms of organizations. So let's look at the next steps for you as a reseller or managed security service provider or MSP. You need to position your portfolio to align with these customer needs. So the first thing you need to do is ask yourself, are you selling the right technologies? Do you have the right vendors in your portfolio? Do those vendors meet the compliance story? Do you need to add new additional services or practices within your organizations? Are you able to meet the customer incident reporting expectations? Potentially you need to upgrade your existing services. You need to upgrade your contracts, your SLAs, and your customer agreements. These are all areas that you need to be planning for now. Those that act early will win more business. They will retain regulated sector customers. They will build trust. They will reduce compliance pressure, and you'll be able to differentiate yourselves from your less mature competitors. Those who delay will risk losing tenders, renewals, and strategic customer relationships. So I encourage every one of you to look more deeply into this future cybersecurity resilience bill. It is going to have a major impact in the UK. It's going to be a major opportunity for all of you. And that completes the Garland part of the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ross. We're going to do the questions at the end, so appreciate that. I'm just going to finally share my screen. So yeah, so thanks, Ross. I mean, look, like we said before, there's a lot of information here, which I think Ross has pointed out at the end there, last few words about losing opportunities, not having the right information for RFIs, RFPs, whatever it may be. So this is what we are trying to do. So for us, as we said, the next step, it was the discovery process. This is going to take some time to educate your customers.
I don't think you're sharing your screen at the moment.
Oh, no. Okay, not to worry. I'll carry on chatting away anyway. Not sure what's. Let me try again quickly. Still not working? Yeah. Better?
Yep, perfect. Thank you.
Brilliant. Sorry. Technology, great. So yeah, like we said, this is around not speeds and feeds. So what we want to try and help you is identify the opportunity. And what we're happy to do, what we'd like to do, and we'll be in touch with you, so follow-on calls. Because I think one of the key things that we haven't done today is talk about case studies and the successes we had. So again, we can talk to you about those scenarios where you can take to your end users knowing that it has been done before. Individually or part of the team. So we can come in, talk to your team, or if you want to individually talk to us, you can do it either way. And then, as Ross said, we can actually give you more detail on the solutions around how we can kind of put these things in place to ensure that the bill is complied to for your customers. And obviously, all this is support directly into your customers via us. So that's kind of what we wanted to do from today. So hopefully give you lots of food for thought. And we will be back in touch with you, obviously, to ensure that we can do what you need here to take the next step on what is going to be a very important impact to our businesses. So on that stage, I'm just going to ask Katrina on any Q&As you might have. Any questions?
I do have a wee question. Someone has asked, other than the supply chain, can you see this impacting hospitality in any way? So it's really a hospitality question around the impact for, I guess, aviation, hotels, leisure, hospitality, quite a broad range of
Yeah.
organisations there.
I think Ross pointed out that there is a lot of sectors that aren't included today. However, I think the bill will encourage people to follow the guidelines. If you have any information, whether it be secure information, GDPR information, anything fits into the NIS2 scenario, I think people are going to be encouraged to follow the same route, whether you fit specifically into some of those sectors. So I think the concept is a concept that might not directly impact the hospitality, but I think the reasoning for it is a good conversation piece for the customers.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that hospitality isn't included within NIS2, and there's been no reference to hospitality within any of the debates to date within the CSRB. So
Watch this space.
okay,
Katrina. Oh, go on.
Yeah, I have a question around when do you think we might start seeing the impact of the new bill?
That's a good question. I think we're already starting to see the impact. So people are already planning for the CSRB. We're already engaged with a lot of organisations that are looking at the impact to themselves and in terms of their own ability to address that. You know, at the end of the day, this is likely, almost certainly, the introduction will be at the end of the year. So if someone is not already planning, they could really be quite seriously called out by this new regulation. Us as a vendor, as ourselves, we're also having to put in place additional processes to be able to satisfy the requirements of the CSRB. Likewise, we're doing the same for NIS2 as well. So
I think, I mean, Ross, I think it's fair to say that if you don't talk to your end users about it, someone else potentially will be as well. So, you know, you want to start those conversations early. Trina, is
Yeah, I
anything else
think
at the moment?
the other question, which I think you've possibly answered, was 2026 to 2028 is quite a broad timeline. Is there a feeling when that could come in during that time? So Ross, can you crystal ball gaze on that, or is it just is it get ready now?
We're not sure who the Prime Minister's going to be tomorrow.
So the bill is likely to become law at the end of the year, and then there will be a phased implementation approach for people that will have to. So the actual period of when they will need to comply is likely to be in the region of more like 6 months as opposed to 2 years. So we're likely to see this as law starting 2017, and then organisations will
2027.
Yeah,
Not
sorry,
17.
17. Sorry, 27. Yeah, do apologise.
I would suspect it will, you know, if anything, you know, there will be external influences that might hurry it along as well. So I think that's why we felt it was a good topic to bring to the table now. Okay, lovely. Well, I think, look at that, nearly bang on time. Thank you very much, everyone. I did, like I say, there's some email addresses. I haven't Ross's email address on there, so we will put you in touch if you want to speak to Ross. But we will be in touch over the next few days with the information from this webinar. We do appreciate your time and your patience. There's a lot of information to take in, but we felt it was the best way to approach it to get the conversations going. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a good day, and we hope to speak to you very soon. Thank you very much.